Episode 6 of Making the Case. Women don't want equality, they want power. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to Making the Case. Your host, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur. Hey, glad that you can tune in, man. For those that are new to the platform, we just got two channel norms. One, we attack points, not people. And two, we don't do all the cussing and defamatory remarks and things of that nature. We want to keep this channel as clean as possible. Make sure you get that edutainment. Okay. Now I have to be honest. When I was doing research for this episode, I got a little flustered. Okay. And once again, the topic for this episode 6, is women don't want equality, they want power. All right. So the reason why I get agitated is because once I started looking at certain things and I'm like, wow, it really hit home to me that women really don't want equality, right? They just want everything to go in their favor. I'm getting into my opening statement, by the way. So let me tell you what I mean by that. For instance, perfect example of this happening now, right? Joe Biden just dropped out the race and he lifted Kamala Harris into his place, right? Of course, we knew that was going to happen, right? So, of course, over the last couple of days, you've been hearing about how much money she's been raising, right? And you know, a lot of money is being raised because they just don't want Donald Trump to be the next president. That's a factor. But what's also another factor is the sisterhood. I mentioned it before, right? So of course you get all kind of black women that is going to come to the forefront, that's going to give support, that's going to give dollars, right? You got a whole bunch of black people that's going to give support. And typically that is the issue when it comes to politics. And I don't want to derail the conversation. I want to stick to the topic. But what we can see is that if she wins the presidency, a lot of it could be contributed to the fact that she will become the first woman president, which means that she can be elected not on her policies, not on the work that she's done as vice president, not on the work that she did prior to becoming vice president, right? So there's that in the air, right? But that wasn't the reason why I was really upset. And upset is a strong word. I saw how many things that went or go in women's favor while they still screaming the patriarchy, they still screaming for rights and this, that, and the third. And so what we're going to get into in this episode, we're going to get into 3 pieces of evidence and some more supporting evidence to make my case of why I feel like women really don't want equality. They want power. Okay. So let's get into our first piece of evidence.
It's that men face that women don't. Who's ready to get triggered? I am. Women parent better. Men are just glorified babysitters. If a woman wants her man to lead, it's a preference. If a man wants his woman to submit, he's misogynistic. Female nurses are so nurturing. But male nurses, but you weren't smart enough to be a doctor? If a woman has a rotation, you go, girl. If a man has one, he's a pig. Peter Pan. If a woman commits a crime, she goes to prison, but he goes to prison for 63% longer. She won't date under 6 feet, and he doesn't want to date overweight. What an asshole. Makeup is enhancing, but that beard is just covering up your lack of a chin. Women set a boundary, you go, queen. But a man, you're controlling. And lastly, my favorite. 6 figures, 6 feet, and 6-pack abs. But she can have 6 bodies, 6 guys in her DMs, and be 60 pounds overweight. Did I miss a few?
So you guessed it. For my first piece of evidence of why women don't want equality, they want more power, double standards. We know double standards go for both men and women, so that's not the argument, right? But there will appear to be more double standards that go for women than they do men. For instance, when we talk about divorce, right? Well, we know custody goes to women more times than not. We know the house goes to women. We know the cars go to women. Property goes to women, right? Spousal support, alimony, right? Most of these things go in women's favor. So when men go to court, I mean, everybody understands it's almost a wrap for men, right? So double standards exist. And I don't hear women talking about, well, we should eradicate these double standards. We should make sure everything is equal. It's just not happening. All right. Let's get to our second piece of evidence. So, my evidence number two, or why I believe that women do not want equality, they want power, is quite simply they want independency, right? Now, what does independency mean? Well, when you're independent, you got to be independent from something, right? Well, we're talking about being independent from men, all right? Even though my case is none of us are independent, we all interdependent. We all depend on somebody or something, okay? Make that case at a later date. All right. So I have an article here once again by one of my favorite platforms called The Medium. They have so many great articles that I ended up just signing up because it's a wonderful platform. So this article is called The Dark Side of Being an Independent Woman, written by Just Annette. So definitely go check out The Medium. They have some great content. So I want to read this to you. And of course, we all understand that women always say, I'm strong and independent. Definitely when it comes to dating, right? They love to tell a man that they're strong and independent and that they don't need a man, they want a man. All of these, of course, has a lot to do with the feminist movement, which we talked about in our last video, but it's also the reason why women want power. Well, if you're independent from a man, you control everything, including the kids, right? And you have the power. So in the household, in single parent household, who's the boss? Well, the woman is, because there's not a man there. All right. So let's get into the article real quick. Oh, let me go back. And of course, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but all right. In today's world, women are often encouraged to work hard for themselves and not to depend on men. The narrative have greatly shifted from what our mothers and grandmothers grew up being told: women belong in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. Feminism has almost made it an abomination to be a woman that wants a man to do everything for her. But while the narrative has shifted for women, has it shifted for men? This is the question that baffles me and has often led to me to have heated debates with a large number of my male friends and colleagues. As a woman, I thought that men desire independent women, women that want but don't need them, women that are partners in the very sense of the word. But over the last few months, I have started to realize that this may not be the case. It's funny, she said over the last few months. And as long as there is no clarity on the issue, the quest for love shall be long and hard. Now, I don't get or understand where this notion that women think that men want a strong woman. Okay. As I mentioned, saying you're independent means that, or saying that you don't need me means that, well, you can get rid of me whenever you feel like it. Whenever you feel like I'm not valuable enough for you. And the numbers show that, right? Between 75 to 80% of women leave their relationship in a marriage. So the mindset is literally proven reality. Okay. Once they feel like they don't need you, they get rid of you. And then the thought process is, well, I get rid of you and I find a better person. But as the older a woman get, the more kids she have, she started to witness they're on this dating scene that is just not the same for an older woman with kids. But I digress. Let's get back into it. I need to preface this article by clarifying my stance on love. I do believe that there is something for everyone, even for the boss babe. I think love involves compromise and desire to see the other person happy and fulfilled. It's about cheering the other person and being in the corner, even when you particularly don't want to. Now, let me go back. I actually skipped something that I want to touch on. She mentioned, hold on, let's go back up. She mentioned, where is it? Is it in this paragraph? Oh, partnership. That's what she mentioned. Now, a partnership would assume that people are 50-50. A partnership is a tit for tat. A partnership is an understanding. Now, is that what people really want? Partnerships? Because, and once again, this is why I feel like women really don't want equality, they want power. They want to make sure they have a say so. It's about them having a voice. And I get it, I understand it. They don't want to feel like they're being used, they don't want to feel like they're being trampled. They don't want to feel like they're not valuable. Yes, women are valuable, for sure. But women are valuable in their femininity and their role, just like men are valuable in their masculinity and in their role. Let's continue. Most importantly, I don't think that a relationship based on one party significantly altering who they are intrinsically to mold into what is deemed lovable by the other party works. As an individual, you can only pretend for a limited period. Once the facade unravels, so does the relationship. Women shouldn't have to stop pursuing greatness just to appease men. I actually agree with that. Who hurt me? You might be wondering, but that's a story for another day. Furthermore, I'm just an ordinary girl navigating the world of relationships. I'm no expert, so this article is just me sharing my thoughts with the world. Men don't want to date intelligent women. False. And I know she brings up a study conducted and published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. Despite over 80% of men listing intelligence as data requirement on their dating online profile. In a nutshell, men want women who are ambitious but not too ambitious, smart but not smarter than them. Now, that's always a value judgment, right? On who's smarter. Yes, I guess you can go with IQ tests and things of that nature, but it's no more about, do you have discernment, right? Do you have foresight? Like, to me, those actually are beneficial when it comes to talking about who's intelligent and who's smart. But the whole notion and idea that you're in a relationship talking about, well, I'm smarter than, and I understand that people do it, right? But we also got to admit it's ego, right? Let's continue reading. When men are unable to be the protector, provider, or lead, it seems as though their worth as individual diminished. This is why the term fragile masculinity exists. Men want to feel wanted and needed, which is true. Although I am tempted to make this article about how terrible men are for not wanting to be with independent, successful women, I had to look at the flip side of the argument. Is there anything about successful, strong, independent women that makes them hard to love? I think independent women find it hard to be vulnerable. We are conditioned to have it together and only rely on our partner for very little or nothing at all. Personally, I have also realized that although I consider myself intelligent and ambitious, I long to be the kept woman. I want to not have to worry about everything. I like having someone being there for me and taking care of me. And to be honest with you, I want to stop right there because it's a couple of key takeaways from this. One, she mentioned that, and I believe that a lot of women feel this way. She mentioned that she want to be kept, right? A lot of women want a leader. They want a man to protect and provide for them and take off the burden and the stress, because women was not built to work like men are. Let's just be real, okay? So women feel like, and you hear it a lot, well, I have to be masculine. I have to work like this. But we addressed it in the last video. When it comes to feminism, women are picking and choosing education in their career. So, and the other thing that came out of this article is the fact that, well, women, once again, they want to feel like they are important. So they'll chase the career, they'll chase the education. The competition comes into play once again, right? So this whole idea of being strong and independent, it's all power play. It's about control. That's the reason why so many women are choosing to be single. Or, excuse me, they're not choosing to be single. It's just no man had picked them because they exhibited the traits that this article talked about. I'm strong, I'm independent, I don't need no man, I'm ambitious, this and that. Well, doesn't that sound like a man? Why would a masculine man want masculine traits? So this all feeds into the fact that, well, this is not equality, right? This is not a balance between masculine and feminine energy. It's masculine and masculine. It's matching each other. It's not equality. Okay. So that hurts things, particularly in relationships. Let's move on to a third piece of evidence and wrap it up. So, my final piece of evidence, evidence three, why I believe that women do not want equality, they want power, is quite simply, well, men have issues as well. So, do we just ignore the issues that young men and boys are going through and we only focus on women issues and women rights? And that's the whole issue with feminism and the fight for women rights and the idea that women want equality. Well, it's not equal. A lot of time, if one is rising, the other one is lowering. When throughout history have you seen two groups of people rise at the same time? Even during the civil rights movement, when we finally ended slavery, well, white people felt like as black people were gaining more rights, then they were diminishing. That's the reason why you had groups like the KKK start to combat the newly found rights that African Americans was getting. So a lot of time, even if it's not their reality that somebody is losing their place or their rights, there's a perception in people's mind. Okay. But here's a case where I have an article I want to read to is it's not just a perception. So there is a consensus that young men and boys are struggling nowadays. Okay. So I want to read this article to you, and it has some pretty interesting stats that I want to read to you. So let's get into it. Scroll on down. Oh, excuse me. So this article actually comes from a platform called a salon, newly found. I've never heard of it before. And the title of it is, Yes, Men and Boys Are in Crisis, but Traditional Masculinity Won't Help Them. Okay. By a lady by the name of Mary Elizabeth Williams. All right. So let's get into it. I'm tired of toxic masculinity. Pause. Let's stop right there. I don't believe in the notion of toxic masculinity. You know why? Because they're not the opposite of something called toxic femininity. Or maybe that something that is, and we just haven't been addressing it out in the public. Now, my sentiments are that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity because if you're toxic, you're just a toxic person. Why do we have to attribute masculinity to it? Well, I know why. Because once again, we want to demonize men. All right. Let's keep going. I mean, I'm tired of his existing in general, particularly in the corrosive radicalization of our boys and young men. But I'm also tired of how the phrase has become synonymous with masculinity in general. I'm tired of the ways in which the suffering of males, especially the ones who aren't white or straight or from a privileged socioeconomic background, is dismissed, marginalized, and misunderstood. So here's a notion that, well, particularly if you're a minority as a male, you're definitely going to have some hard times. While I agree with my colleagues Amanda Marcotte that healthy men draw their self-esteem from inside by cultivating their own talents and good qualities, I also think that our culture is doing a terrible job defining and encouraging that healthy masculinity. We have so much work to be done, said Jennifer L.W. Fink, author of Building Boys, Raising Great Guys in a World That Misunderstands Males, and a mother of 4 sons. Gender affects boys' lives too, how they're treated, how they're limited, and they need and deserve our help and support. Because one thing we've been seeing over the last few decades is our support goes at the women. We build shelters for women. We do this for women. We get welfare for women, right? So a lot of tax dollars, government support, social support goes towards women. And young men and boys in particular have been neglected. So a lot of time, and I get what she's saying when it comes to toxic masculinity in the sense that, well, we believe that males are just supposed to suck it up, don't cry, be strong, right? That is hurting a lot of males, all right? We all different. Everybody can't deal with the pressure the same, particularly the last couple of generations. Let me find my place. The statistics are dismaying. Boys are 7% more likely to drop out of high school than girls, a gender gap that Fortune last year noted has gone largely unaddressed by schools. They have higher rates of unemployment, have shorter life expectancies, and are 4 times more likely than females to die by suicide. They're significantly less likely than females to seek mental health treatment or assistance for intimate partner violence. They also are more likely to be homeless. Just as it doesn't help any of us anywhere on the gender spectrum to take the advantage of girls and women as a threat to boys and men, it's likewise lazy and simplistic to use the damage wrought by the patriarchy to let ourselves off the hook for what's going on with our guys. So, how do we reframe the conversation from a zero sum game to one in which we can all thrive? Now, I'm glad that she mentioned that. Can we get to a point where women building up men and men are building up women? Because right now we see the gender war. Right now we see the competition. Right now we see women saying they don't need men and men saying they don't need women. So right now we're butting heads and we're going at each other. So how can we come together and understand that we both need each other? I'm curious to say what the article's going to say. We had to start with non-judgmental curiosity and attention. In my office, in private practice, and on college campuses, I've seen a sort of reverse anatomy and destiny where men feel judged, blamed, and devalued merely because of their biological status. Said Michael Aki, PhD, clinical psychologist in Tarrytown, New York. Worse yet, they feel unwelcome to talk about these issues because of their historic privilege in society. Some of them have even sheepishly said to me, "We're really allowed to talk about our challenges. Shouldn't we be focused on those who really been marginalized?" So what you're seeing is a lot of men do feel like, you know what, I can't even have the conversation with my woman or with women because they're going to judge me. They're going to question my masculinity. And if I talk about with another man, is he still going to consider me as masculine? So this is a real challenge. And for these women out here that really say they want equality, well, are you speaking up? Are you being vocal when it comes to your sons, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers? Are you advocating for them? Or is it all about women's rights? Let us know. And those feelings of shame and stigma can be deeply isolating and dangerous. Jennifer Fink observed that often boys feel alienated in a lot of spaces. Boys feel accused before they've done anything. They feel like they don't really have safe places to talk about what they are feeling, what they're seeing, what they need. In the internet connected age, when it's very easy to go on your phone in privacy, it becomes very easy to go down that rabbit hole. Fink says that we can remedy some of this through an intersection of culture, parenting, and educating that listen to our boys. I agree, but we need more than that. We need spaces like YouTube. We need social media. We need platforms that's going to speak out, and we need men to protect young boys and to speak out and tell them it's okay to express how you feeling. We have let them know through both our actions and our words that we've interested in what you think, she says. We need to give them room to talk through some of what they're experiencing and what they're seeing so that they can make sense of it. If we just shut down conversation, essentially we're sending to the dark corners of the internet, which I agree, which we know that the dark web exists, right? So, but there is a space on the internet where we can have these conversations. And I end up reading the whole actually article, but it was a good article, right? So what the article in jest is saying that, well, there's a crisis going on with young men and our boys. And when I'm talking about young men, I'm talking about college age, right? I'm talking about 18 to 25, but also our teenagers. So our young men are growing up in a world with the internet and social media and a quote unquote fourth wave of feminism, if you believe in that, right? So it's a lot of things that's going on, and I believe they are confused about what masculinity means. What it is like, what does it mean to be a male? What are the roles that are expected on them? Because being a male, particularly in America, is different. There are different expectations. So let's get into my closing statement. So to be honest, I believe that a lot of women and a lot of people are victims of the feminist movement. It's not their ideology, although they subscribe to it. It's not their ideology. Most people are followers, so we tend to go with the trend. We tend to go with what's popular. So feminism is now ingrained into our society. So women are literally raised from a very young age to believe they are the prize, they're the princess, they're queen, they should be put on the pedestal, they should be put first, which automatically puts men behind them. So in a lot of women mind, they can't understand, like, as a man, why would you say these certain things? You're not the prize. Like, I'm the prize. Like, even when it comes to sex, right? Women literally feel like that their private part is more important than a man's private part. So the whole ideology that comes from feminism has really hurt us as a culture, as a society, and individual relationships. It has done some damage. So the whole notion of equality, it just doesn't exist. I've mentioned before, equality doesn't exist. It never has. So a whole movement of women saying that they just want equal rights, it's on a false premise. You want power. You want control. The reason why women focus on education and career is because it comes with a certain level of power and control. The reason why you see a lot of women now in administrative position, in higher position, they love the power and the control that comes with it. They love focusing on the bag and getting money because we understand with money comes power. So it makes sense. So women a lot of time talk about being honest and a lot of men are deceiving. Well, this is just a whole deception. The feminist movement wanting equal rights. It's deceiving because at the end of the day, just be truthful. Just say it's all about women and that's your focus. If you will say that, you will garner more respect. Now, although it would be still looked at a little sideways, but at least it's honest. All right. So if we truly want equality, even though I would say equity, then we have to start looking at men as well as women. We got to start coming together and start being interdependent and not independent because we always will be interdependent. We always have been, always will. All right. And yes, double standard will always exist. They're not going anywhere. But we have to be fair and say if these double standards benefit one sex, these double standards are going to benefit another sex. It just is what it is. Unless we want to fight to get rid of these double standards. And to be honest, I think people don't. All right. That's our show for today, people. Make sure you subscribe, like, hit that bell, man. Once we get to a certain number of subscribers, we're going to go live with it. All right. So let's get our subs up. All right. Once again, go get the merch. Go get the books. You know, I'm going to leave them links, all right, in the description. So, as always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. The worst thing you could do is lie to yourself. In this case is close. Deuces.